Why is it that when we talk about politics, things escalate so quickly? It's like if something deeper gets triggered right away. For many, politics is identity. Identity is politics. How does this help us, and how might it also hinder us? Welcome to the Tag Collab podcast, where we explore leadership, mindset, and the forces shaping how we think, act, and show up in the world. I'm Terry Arvisu Gonzalez, and today we're talking about something that quietly influences how we process information, form opinions, and make decisions: identity. Human beings are wired for belonging. Long before political parties, ideologies, or social media existed, survival depended on group membership. If your tribe rejected you, your chances of survival plummeted. So the brain evolved accordingly. It developed powerful shortcuts to quickly categorize people into us and them. Today, those same mechanisms are still operating now that they're showing up in modern society and increasingly in politics. Identity has become one of the most powerful forces shaping how we interpret information, how we judge credibility, and how we make decisions. But when identity becomes the primary lens through which we see the world, it can quietly undermine something critical: agency. Agency is the ability to think independently, act intentionally, and instead of reacting automatically. Understanding this requires looking at both psychology and neuroscience. Identity politics refers to alignment around social identities such as race, gender, religion, nationality, or political affiliation. And while identity based movements have played an important role in advancing civil rights and representation, something has shifted. Researchers have found that the fusion of political beliefs with personal identity has intensified polarization. We're seeing this in several ways. Political polarization in the US has grown rapidly over the past 40 years. People increasingly interpret issues through an identity lens. Affective polarization, the emotional dislike of opposing groups, has surged. Political identity now influences how people evaluate others, often more than race, religion, or education. Research shows that partisanship identity can become stronger than other personal identity. In other words, for many people today, political identity has become part of who they are. And once identity is involved, the brain behaves differently. From a neurological perspective, identity activates systems in the brain's response for belonging and threat detection. There are three key mechanisms at play. Social identity theory: humans naturally categorize themselves into groups, and once we do, we tend to favor our group and distrust the outsiders. So instead of asking, "Is this true?" the brain asks, "Is this aligned with my group?" Two, motivated reasoning. The brain prefers coherence over accuracy. When the identity feels threatened, this is who I am, okay, emotional centers activate when that doesn't align, and analytical thinking ends up taking a back seat. Instead of evaluating information objectively, they will look for evidence that protects their identity, because now there's something deeply personal involved. The third is cognitive shortcuts and information filtering. Identity simplifies complexity. The brain uses shortcuts like, my group supports this, so it must be correct. The other group supports that, so it must be wrong. The brain is optimizing for belonging, not for truth. Identity itself is not the problem. The problem is when identity becomes the primary filter for reality. When that happens, three risks emerge. Blind spots. We notice information that supports our views and we ignore what challenges them. Two, moral absolutism. Disagreements turn into moral battles. Curiosity becomes suspicion. It becomes deeply, deeply personal. And number three is reduced personal agency. We outsource thinking to the group. Oh, the Republicans, or oh, the Democrats, oh, the conservatives, or the liberals. At that point, identity becomes a form of cognitive automation, which raises a powerful question. Is this belief mine or did I inherit it? So detecting identity bias. The first step is awareness. Look for 3 signals. When your emotions spike around certain topics, immediate dismissal of opposing views, judging ideas based on who said them, using labels instead of arguments, feeling personally attacked by disagreements. These are signals that identity must be driving your thinking. The good news is the brain is plastic and it can be trained. So, identity decoupling, ask, if the opposite group said this, would I still agree? Seek cross-group information. Expose yourself to different perspectives, not to agree, but to understand. 3, separate ideas from identity. Instead of, that's a liberal idea, ask, what problem is this trying to solve? Steel manning, build the strongest version of the opposing argument before critiquing it. This is an incredible tool, not a straw man, a steel man, right? 5, building a meta identity, adopting identities that are bigger than politics. I'm a citizen, I'm a problem solver, parent, community member, human. Even I have been able to create some distance from political identity because I identify first as a journalist. That was my job. Or in my case, hater also of double standards. I do identify like that. These create space for disagreement without hostility. Identity isn't bad, it matters. It has driven civil rights, representation, progress, but it becomes dangerous when it replaces thinking. The goal is not to eliminate identity, the goal is to hold lightly so it doesn't replace curiosity. So here's the question that I'll leave you with. Am I evaluating ideas or am I defending a tribe? Because the future will belong to people who do something rare, hold strong values and stay open-minded. It's what democracy needs, not abandoning identity, but refusing to identify, to let their identity do their thinking for them, because that is the difference between belonging and agency. And a world that is becoming more polarized, that might be one of the most important skills we can develop. If you like this, like, share, comment, or share this with somebody else. I know it's happening in your house, in your household, political battles. Give them this just so we can think a little bit differently. Till next time.